Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this podcast that I forgot the name of because we had to change it, and I think we already talked about that. But Merry Christmas, New Year, inauguration. Fuck, a lot has happened.
I think we're past all that.
Well,
I think we're past all the holiday stuff.
Happy Yuletide,
Kwanzaa,
Happy Koo.
Hanukkah. Is there anything else that happens around that time?
Don't forget the Kwanzas.
I said Kwanzaa. I said it before Hanukkah, surprisingly.
Did you say Mega Kwanzaa? Because that comes
Mega
after.
Kwanzaa. Festivus, if you practice that holiday for some reason, that made up Seinfeld holiday. But then again, all holidays are made up.
Haha.
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Did you know what Festivus is?
Seinfeld's made up.
Well,
Don't forget the BDSM holiday, Festivus.
Jerry Seinfeld doesn't exist.
Wait, Sarah. Well, today we have the three regulars: the me, Vincent, the you, and the wonderful audience. Oh my god, I'm dying.
2 people that listen.
All right, so it's been a while since we've all been together, and I'd like to talk about a lot of things, but let's just get this out of the way, Macy, since we had to delay the podcast because I needed to finish and watch Wonder Woman 1984 because you really wanted to talk about it. Sarah, do you care about the DC comic movie Wonder Woman 1984?
Oh well, I haven't watched it yet. Like I said, I don't really watch superhero movies except for Batman.
Did you watch the original one, the first Wonder Woman movie?
No, I did not.
Do you think Chris Pine is pretty?
My favorite Chris is Chris Evans.
Ah, okay. That's your favorite Chris.
Yes.
I can't lie. Like, he's pretty hot. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
if anybody's seen Knives Out, that is the superior Chris Evans because he's always wearing this like tight white turtleneck. And
of
God.
course.
I think we've all seen Knives Out. Yeah, that's peak Chris Evans. Even better than Captain America Chris Evans. That is.
That is peak Chris Evans. And Michael Shannon's in it, and I have this like weird thing for Michael Shannon, so it was just a great movie overall.
If Chris Evans can outshine Michael Shannon, then you know that's a big thing for Sarah. If you don't know Sarah,
yeah.
So me and Macy watched Wonder Woman 1984, and Sarah, you can just comment from your outside perspective on things that we talk about.
I mean, I like to watch Red Letter Media's reviews of things that I don't watch. So I watched their review of it. They said that that there were too many of things. Like there were 2 openings, there should only be 1 opening. There were 2 villains, there should have only been 1 villain, and that should have been the focus.
Like that's agreed. Like that's like the 2 major problems that I have with the film, and I think going into that is like these 2 villains shouldn't be mixed together.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And one of them is like Wonder Woman's greatest nemesis, and you make her the side villain.
Yes.
And that, as the comic book fan, makes me want to go, no, I don't like it. Jenkins.
Her name's Cheetah, right?
Yeah, Cheetah, Barbara Minerva.
She is Wonder Woman's Virgil, if you were to compare her to anything. And I was wondering, like, oh, they're doing her, okay, but there has to be like a bigger villain because she's not like usually the main villain. And then, like, they went into this, what's his name,
Maxwell Lord.
Maxwell Lord. Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
And
So my mom did just get HBO Max. So I have it if I ever want to watch it, but I just haven't. I have no desire to, because it just seems too big for its britches, like how Aquaman was.
Oh, I disagree. I think that you're gonna hear me like I feel like I'm one of the only people in existence. I feel like that like Aquaman, like to the extent that I do. Like,
Wait, really? Like the movie?
I loved it. I was in the theater grinning from ear to ear. I was all the way with it. I was just like, this is dumb. This is stupid. But God fucking damn it, do I love every minute of this.
So what I told Macy when I was watching this movie, I was like, this is the direction DC needs to go if they want to make like an interesting comic book movie and stop trying to make like art pieces like what fucking Zack Snyder's trying to do and has done and is being pushed back from. I feel like they have to do what actually is going on in like a lot of DC comics, because I was watching this movie and it just felt like, oh, this is escalating in a way that like only makes sense in a comic book, where I was like, this is fucking stupid. Like the amount of shit, like you've already been spoiled because you watched that review of it, right?
Yeah, so I know what happens.
So Pedro Pascal's character, Max Lord, basically gets the power to grant people wishes from a magic rock. That in the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, this is how Chris Pine's gonna come back to life. And I know, like, I should already say fucking spoilers to anyone who's listening. But, like, it turns into this weird thing where the fucking... It just, like, gets to a point where I'm like, oh, wow, this is out of hand. And I felt like it was like, I could see this in a comic book getting this stupid and out of hand, especially for Wonder Woman, because I don't know anything about Wonder Woman villains. I don't know who she normally fights. I've only ever seen her in, like, Justice League. That's what I'll say right now. Like, I only know her inside the JLA and Justice League, and, like, when she shows up in other movies as characters, like animated things and stuff like that.
We
like,
know of her. We don't know her directly, I guess.
Yeah. There's been like no Wonder Woman cartoon. There was like there was a Batman show, and then there was a Superman show, but they never did Wonder Woman just by herself. It was always,
I mean, to be fair, they did that in live action.
I know, they did movies, but that's the only thing.
No, they did a show.
Did they do a show? Oh, they did the TV show.
But that's like a different era.
Yeah.
That's true. That's like the equivalent of saying that like 60s Batman can encapsulate Batman for entirely.
Yeah.
Like,
that's that's so true. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'll be right back. Y'all keep talking.
Okay.
Sure.
But this movie escalated in a way where it was like, I'm actually interested because I want to see how they're gonna solve this like big, like giant threat that they've made to the world, and I'm like. And it was solved in like an interesting way that I think Diana / Wonder Woman would do it, because even though I looked up to see what happens to Max in the comics, and apparently like Wonder Woman has to kill him because his actual power is like he can influence people. Like he's like a metahuman, and he has like the ability to subconsciously like manipulate people to do what they want, and like he gets so powerful at some point in the comics where he's able to manipulate Superman. So Diana has to kill him or something like that.
Like in the comics, they built to his like villainy, and they kind of retcon a lot of things. He's one of those like retcon-y villains who eventually develop a sense of self like much later, because he was mostly a kind of like a manipulator, con man, business villain type, and then a certain crazy event gave him like the mind control powers, but it wasn't as like strong as Professor
X.
X.
It talks about how he like some sort of person. I didn't remember what it says, but like someone came to the planet and like left something behind that like gave him this ability or something like that.
It was a dumb it was an event that's very forgettable. It was like Invasion, I think, and they had like a meta bomb, so a lot of people got superpowers from that, like metahumans and things like that. But like eventually, like you said, like he uses technology to put like these nano organisms to control people and enhance his powers and stuff. And basically what happens in that kind of instance is it's kind of like the same thing at the climax of this film, but what happens is he's controlling everybody and sometimes turning people into robots. And his whole motivation isn't totally different in the comics. His motivation is, I don't trust superheroes. I think that they will lead to destruction of our society. It's kind of like a little bit of Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say
like,
that's Lex's motto.
yeah. But it like his is all about kind of like he wants to ruin the perception of heroes. Like not just like kill them. He wants to show that like humanity doesn't need heroes. And so it's kind of like Luke Luthor Part 2. But he's really cool because he has like these much more bigger, grander plans that are much interesting. And so what happens is Wonder Woman decides to distract Superman, goes all the way towards Maxwell Lord. She ropes him with the lasso of truth and is like, how do I stop you? Can I stop you? And then he's just like, the only way you can stop me is kill me.
Yeah.
And so that's the last resort. And so she breaks his neck on television.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of is a huge moment. And it's kind of stupid because like,
Does he become a
like,
martyr?
no, it's more
Okay.
of like, people look at her at Wonder Woman in the comics and is like, we don't trust you because you killed a guy. And it's like, she's literally from a warrior race though. Like, yes. Going back to the movie, yeah, Maxwell Lord's motivation in this film is more made to make him more sympathetic than the comics, because the comics he's just bad childhood, hates superheroes, you know?
Yeah, I really liked, well, first of all, I really like Pedro Pascal. And him cast as a villain, he plays a really good, like, not, like, even if they didn't make him sympathetic, like, I would just love him to play, like, more crazy, campy, over-the-top villains, because he does that really well. I think Pedro Pascal just likes acting. He's one of those actors where he'll just, like, do anything and play and work with anyone as long as, like, he gets to have fun. You know what I mean?
Probably why he's having a bad time on the Mandalorian set, because it's like, I'm just doing a voice. I'm not having a performance. This is getting boring.
When I learned about that, where he's not even actually on the set majority of the time, because like it's usually like a stunt double there who's like walking around in the suit, and like he'll just do the voiceover later on, and like he's like rarely on the set. I'm like, what? That kind of sucks. Like he can't do some of the stunts, but it's like, oh well, I guess they did. I don't know. I don't want to get into logistics of that. Anyways, this movie, I just really liked it, and I was looking at all. I just remember hearing like a whole bunch of people complain about it and stuff like that, and like towards the end, I was like, okay, I can see the complaints. Number one, they didn't utilize Cheetah. They just like had her, because this movie feels like they're like clearing out the rest of the ideas that they have and like picking up shop before they release like the next wave of like the James Gunn stuff and like stuff like that. And they're gonna be like, okay, we're just gonna do Cheetah and this one weird villain that in the comics isn't really cool, but we're gonna make one more Wonder Woman movie. It's gonna be in the 80s and it's gonna be super campy, and we're gonna try to fix everything. And it just feels like they're trying to like get rid of the character.
I feel like I heard somewhere that there was studio interference for this film, and if that's the case, and also I've also read that like Patty Jenkins didn't write the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question is that where is this a script issue, and where did the rewrites have something to do, and was the initial premise of this film flawed? Like I feel like I know what she wanted to do. I can
definitely see that.
Yeah. Like anyone who understands cinema would be like, oh, she wants to make the Richard Donner Superman film for Wonder Woman. So of course it's going to be campy. Of course it's going to be lighthearted. And of course the plot is going to be a little sillier than a lot of. I just think that it could have been a better movie if they cleared up a lot of the weird, like it feels like they overwrite certain scenes, and so it becomes drawn out and kind of boring in certain parts. Like I feel like this movie could have used like a more condensed film, because I feel like if it was condensed and it was just straightforward and got to the point and moved faster, I feel like it could have been a much more enjoyable experience. And I think that's probably what's turning people off, is that it's
2 hours.
It's not even 2, it's 2 hours and like 30, almost 40.
Oh my god,
And
yeah, that's why.
it takes literally forever. And there's certain like story elements that make no sense in that context. Like, why not bring him back to life and not have the weird body scene and have sex against somebody who probably is like trapped in there? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of weird logistics that people are trying to hop over, you know?
Oh
And
yeah, like Chris Pine's character coming back and like being in a different body though, and then like a whole bunch of stuff revolving around that, and then like I mean, there were some scenes that like they could have got. I don't know, like, cause like I'm thinking about it. I'm like, those scenes were fun, but like I guess you could have did without them. Like, I'm the person who looks at something and I try to find like the reason or the fun in each one of the scenes in the movie and like why it was kept. And I just feel like it was just like they liked the chemistry between Wonder Woman and the character, and they just wanted to have fun scenes with those characters because they liked seeing those two on screen. So that's why they had like all those little bits and things spread around between them, like interacting and doing stuff. I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah, I think that like but I think that also at the same time, like an editor's job is to like figure out things that are excessive. Like, let me like give example, like the watch scene,
Mm-hmm.
right? The watch scene does not serve the audience. It does not, and it tries to serve the audience at the expense of the story. Like, we know Wonder Woman's wish. You don't have to foretell that the wish is going to happen, and even then, he doesn't come back. Like, in my mind, I thought,
Yeah. Okay.
so that watch scene is practically useless because it's trying to not fit the story. It's basically saying, "Hey, audience, are you paying attention? I know this is very long, but this is like the guy's going to come back, but he's not even going to materialize." Or like, in my mind, if he didn't have to grab the body, would he just, you know, appeared there? And then the thing was, you see the watch turning, and someone grabbed it. Right?
That's what
And
I was
then-
expecting to happen, but then like it
Yeah.
just clicks back on. And I'm like, oh, it's not broken anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to remember the last Wonder Woman movie, and I'm like, did the watch break or something? Like, was it like the only thing that survived
Yeah.
the plane crash? Or
I don't remember the first Wonder Woman movie as well. I didn't watch it in prep for this. I just know that I like it. I could be that was a detail that was the watch, or I don't remember, but I will say that like there's scenes like that I feel are, it feels like maybe, and this is just my theory, like Patty Jenkins had a much more movie that was like figure it out audience. You're smart enough, right? Like a movie that went at its own pace and basically made you, the audience, try to figure it out. And I think the studio interference was like, people are dumb, put these scenes in, you know what I mean? Or something
Mhm.
like that, because they do nothing but waste valuable time and slow down the progression of the story, right? And it doesn't feel like it's helpful. And I think that's probably why it feels like a slog, is that there's so many scenes that are just feel like we're just talking to the audience, you know?
Mhm.
Instead
like
of
all the scenes with Barbara and like just cutting in between, like there, like the scenes where like it shows her being popular. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. There were certain scenes where I was like, I feel like they were just padding out the movie to like enforce you, to show you that, look, she's getting her wish, everyone. Look, this is, and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's nice. Let's go back to whatever Diana's doing. I'm getting like
Yeah, and like, and I think that's the initial flaw. Like, it's a fun, it's a good campy, good time, but it's split between two villains that need a whole movie for each of them to make them more developed. Oh, and the wishing, I know it's supposed to be silly campy, but
Mhm.
like it's over explained and also inconsistent
Yep.
with the wishing. And so I think that's why a lot of people are frustrated with the wishing stone, is because if it was just a wishing stone and it kept to its rules, right? Then
Mhm.
people probably wouldn't be as, upset about it. But then there's things like, when you think about it too much, like Wonder Woman has two flaws with her wish when there's only supposed to be like one big letdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, one, her boyfriend's like in another body. That's one flaw. And two, her powers are being sapped, right? And
I feel like there was
Why
like
is-
just a weird logistical thing where it's like, well, we can't bring the person like out of the ground, or there was no body, so we couldn't get anything. So we put him in a new body. I don't feel like that was like a punishment sort of thing. I mean, if you look at it that way, it can be, but I don't feel like
Yeah.
it is. I feel like it was just like a weird logistical thing for the wish to make sense.
Yeah, and it could have been much more like that's the thing is like the wishing is inconsistent. So like when a movie gives you like rules and stuff like that, you want to be able to go with it rather than think about it. And I think that's the thing that I feel like is that the movie was so inconsistent with what it could do, what it couldn't do. Because like think about this, it magicked a wall out of nowhere,
That
right?
was fucking.
which
I-
is
That's where the point where I was like, all right, you just took the limiters off this. You took
Yeah.
the limiters off. You like her getting superpowers, him coming back to life, Barbara getting superpowers, and him coming back to life, and like the couple other things I think happened along the way, like the dude getting arrested by the FBI.
Yeah.
And him getting all the oil wells. I was like, okay, this is mystically gonna happen. But like it's not super crazy. But then the wall coming up, I was like, okay. You just took
Yeah.
the limiters off. Anything is possible with this now. Is what
Yeah.
is what was just said. But I think what they were trying to do is just like show you a power escalation of how stupid it could get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's like it makes sense. Like there's escalation there, but like it feels like it also kind of goes back to like it feels like it's trying to serve the audience and not the story. Like
Yeah.
this is like the point where the movie is supposed to ramp up. So of course like the threats are going and the things are going to get bigger, but in turn by thinking about it that way of escalating the story, you're not thinking about the internal logic of like
Mhm.
the powers of these things. And so I feel like that's kind of why like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like it feels like it doesn't like have its internal consistency. And I feel like in that core, that's when going back to the inception of this film, you wanted to make a Richard Donner Superman film,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels like you couldn't nail down how to effectively pull that off without having so many issues. And I feel like that it's really hard to do that. Because you got to have different sensibilities. Like back in the day, Richard Donner, he had multiple powers. You know, they even
Mhm.
did that with the Lester films, where he kept getting multiple powers. So then we're going to put multiple powers for Wonder Woman. That's why she has the invisibility thing. That's why her lasso of truth can wrap around Maxwell Lord at the end and somehow magically communicate to everyone to tell them to face their inner truth, so they know that these wishes are bad. You know, like there's a lot of things in that like, okay, she has multiple powers because Richard Donner, but as a modern day comic book fans, we know her powers, right? We know what she has and doesn't have. Unlike the day when Superman was made, he had multiple powers in the comics, and so that was just kind of how that character was at that period.
Also,
and so it feels
Superman evolved over time as well.
Mhm.
Because he used to only be able to jump real high, couldn't always fly. And, like, I just feel like superheroes have evolved over time. And the product that we're getting nowadays is kind of like the amalgamation of what we started with and what we got to now. And I feel like it's up to the writer into what they choose and want to have happen with that person. Like, you told me, I think before we started, was like Wonder Woman can't make things invisible. And I was like, huh. Because I feel like there are scenes in this movie, like I said, where it's like they're trying to get everything in there because they don't think they're going to make another Wonder Woman movie again. Where it's like, here, we turn the jet invisible.
Yeah, like it does feel like another things like that. Like, well, it did have my favorite moment in the movie when it came to like the whole like the jet scene is my favorite moment in the movie because of Chris Pine's reaction to
Mhm.
Radar. That'll forever be the funniest moment in that movie. It's like Wonder Woman turns to him and it's like, "Oh, I forgot Radar exists." And Chris Pine gives the most genuine reaction I've ever seen him give. Well, shit, Diana.
Yeah, that was a. I forgot about that because I kept thinking about the part where they're in the White House, and
Yeah.
Diana's like basically, "Hey, you can't kill people," and he's like, "Ah, fuck, fine," and he's like fighting the Secret Service guys, and he takes the gun off him and points it at him, and he's like, "I can't kill you."
Yeah,
and he's like trying to figure out how to fight these guys without killing them.
and like it was at that point that like there's like and they even got the Greek mythology wrong. I think it was Hades, not Zeus, who made things invisible, but I think Zeus did make things invisible sometimes. I don't know, like it feels like she has a limited set of powers, but in this film we tried to give her like a lot, right?
Yeah, just anything that could be probable for like Diana to do, I guess. Like her fucking like, has she ever used her whip like Thor to make herself helicopter?
Ever seen that? I think she just flies nowadays.
Oh,
She just
I do remember that from the review that they were baffled that she like like lassoed herself onto lightning or something, like she was
Yes.
fucking Spider-Man.
She's
but it makes sense to me when you think about the internal logic of like she's Zeus's daughter and she's a mythological being, so I can let the lightning thing slide a little
Yeah,
bit because it's fun, and it also makes sense like towards the end when she literally shocks Cheetah and she's
Yeah.
fine because she's immune to lightning. So
also there's like a whole part. It's kind of like that whole scene is just like a moment for her to like develop as a character, and like it plays the audio of I can't remember Chris Pine's character, but whatever. To be like you just gotta grab the air, and she's like, all right, I'll physically grab the air and lasso onto this fucking cloud and fly.
did you okay, question. I have a big question for you because this is like probably the difference between people who enjoy this film and don't like this film.
Okay.
Did you feel that when you watch this film, those moments like her flying and the moments that were kind of like her teaching people, did you feel the sincerity of it? Did you feel joy listening to that? Or were you kind of laughing at how absurd those moments are?
A mixture.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, okay, this is like, I felt genuine feelings. I was never like, all right, what's gonna happen next? It was just kind of like, okay, she can do this. The things I was more thinking about when she started flying and the only thing I ever thought like, what the fuck, was when she started spinning her lasso around, and I was like, is she fucking Thor now? That's the only time where I was like, what the fuck is this? But other than that, I was like, just thinking to myself, does Wonder Woman know how to fly? That's the only thing that crossed my mind. I was like, oh, she has the jet. That's what she has, a jet. She makes a joke about that, but can she fly? I guess she can fly. I think she can fly in Justice League War. Like, I was just trying to like do the things I knew about Diana in like other media that I've seen, where I'm like, does she know how to fly?
Yeah. She does know how to fly. It's just that like I think the problem is that like she doesn't fly until the end of Batman versus Superman or something, or was it Justice League? I forget. Like, no, it was Wonder Woman 1, right? Because at the end of Wonder Woman 1, it flashbacks to modern day, and then she jumps out of like the building and flies. So like, I think the issue is that like she doesn't fly to modern day, so we have to like build towards that. But I think it's another problem. It's like, just make her fly. Who cares? The DC universe doesn't, like, the movie universe doesn't make sense to begin with anymore. So like, if you want to make her fly, just make her fly. You know?
Yeah, they needed to like have some character reason why she flied. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole Barbara also gets like 2 wishes thing?
She didn't get 2 wishes. So she didn't really get 2 wishes. She just told Maxwell what she wanted. And then in the final scene in the movie where he is accepting wishes, he basically explains it that when he accepts the wishes, he's able to create like the negative effects to offset it. And so by offsetting it, like he said, he's basically like, yes, you get your wish and I get my health and I get your health and I get this and she gets your fury and your strength. That's what happens in that scene. So basically, it's not another wish. He's pushing over someone else's like power over to her for that moment.
Okay.
Because
Can
I didn't know if
I also-
you understood that because I was watching that. And I was like, how are we gonna get her into cat? And then I was like, okay, that's how we get her into a cat.
I could understand it because like again that was another meeting with me trying to figure out the rules when I should just be like, who cares? But it just like I didn't understand the rules, and so I thought like in that moment I was trying to figure out like, oh, so like did she get another wish, or was her wish always to be powerful, so she's gonna turn into like an animal version? And
No.
that's the catch.
It's so because I kind of understood from the beginning. I just feel like this is just writer brain trying to like rationalize things for them to make sense. Is he always has the power to offset and like he's basically like making a deal with the devil, basically, where like you make a wish and then he's able to take something in return. Because like when he does it to the people in Egypt, and he goes over to the dude and he's like, "Ha, we gave all our oil to the Saudis," and he's like, well, fuck it. I guess I'll take your security team then, so you don't have anyone to deal with this. And that's why they just start following him, because they're like compelled by the offset of the wish. That makes sense.
Makes sense. It also just kind of starts highlighting that like the fact that, like I said earlier, like Sheeta should have got her own movie. It feels like they did her dirty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we don't get to see enough of her downfall, and like her initial inception of her character is very kind of stereotypical. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you know, every single, you know, Catwoman, Batman Returns, Topher Grace, Spider-Man 3, and Electro from Spider-Man 2. You know, like, you know, Jamie Foxx, right?
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, like. So like, I really wish we had a movie
Sinister Six.
Man, bring me Sinister Six with the
Paul
Black Cat,
Giamatti
Silver Sable.
Played someone. That's all I remember.
He was the Rhino, and he was in
Rhino.
a giant suit.
Yeah.
We had Dr. Octopus played by William Shatner.
Oh no.
That just kidding. I made that up just to make
Sorry?
you
I believed you for like 2.5 seconds. I was like, that's weird.
No, William Shatner is like 95 years old. I don't think he could play the Rhino.
So I guess that's enough about Wonder Woman 1984. I like the movie. I understood why a lot of people on Twitter at the time when it came out were like, "Oh, this sucks," blah blah blah, or like, "Oh, like I can't believe," like I'm just complaining about stuff about it. But I was like, like I said, I feel like it's like they got in a boardroom meeting and they were like, "Okay, this is the last Wonder Woman movie we're probably ever gonna make." They probably already had a script.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, what do you want to put in a movie? You need to adapt it to the script that we already have. James Gunn's over here is making the next Suicide Squad movie, and Shazam did really well for us, and everyone's calling for blood over fucking Zack Snyder's Snyder Cut, and we're releasing that, and people are still gonna be disappointed. But so what do you want to do? And they just like sat down, added all these things, and like made like, and just said, okay, this is it. This is the one. We put all the things in there. Invisible Jet. We got Cheetah. I know we can't do all the other rogues gallery that Wonder Woman has. I don't know what her rogues gallery even is.
Silver Swan, Doctor Psycho.
Yeah,
we did Poison in the first movie.
Wasn't it? But didn't she fight a fucking god? Didn't she fight
fought Ares.
Ares,
Yeah,
yeah.
Ares.
And I was like, this doesn't. I don't know about this.
There's also Cersei is also a main villain for Wonder Woman.
He's played by the dude who plays Lupin in fucking Harry Potter. That's all I remember.
Yeah,
Which,
I just remember watching the review from Red Letter Media and them being like, this was weird because the bad guy kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In the first one, but
it's like the opposite of fucking Captain America.
The thing about the first movie is that I feel like it should have been a critique on her wanting a villain and realizing it's just humanity. But I feel like that's too much for a superhero film and realizing there's no real villain and it's just actual humans being shitty. So we had to have a final battle too, so we had to make villains. And I think that's probably what I would have gone if I wanted to be an alter film director. But hey, it's a superhero film. Gotta have that third action scene, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I do want to say my final thoughts on them before we move on.
Okay.
I agree with you. Like I like a lot of the camp factor. I do like a lot of story beats and ideas there. I just feel like as a comic book fan, I wanted more. And I think that's probably what I'm mostly disappointed about. Like I wanted to see like Cheetah in her full glory. And while I respect her intention to make a Richard Donner Wonder Woman movie, I feel like she didn't do enough for me. And is it a bad movie? No. Is it a good movie? No. I would say it's a very interesting experience to watch. And then if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I think it's in the middle.
If you want to see the original directors that DC wanted to make their DCU with, that, and now you're watching them clear out the office and pull the copper wiring out of the wall, then this is an interesting movie. Because that's what it feels like. Like I said, I didn't hate it. It's just
it feels like instead of Wonder Woman 84, it's Wonder Woman in the kitchen sink. You know what I mean?
I don't even know what that means.
You know how like you're just, throwing out all the bath water in the kitchen sink?
Just throw everything but the kitchen sink is the term, I believe.
Yeah. I fucked up, but that's kind of
So Wonder Woman 1984, if you want to see something fun and you just want to eat some popcorn and go, what the fuck, I suggest watching that movie over Justice League. But to move on to some other Greek mythology.
Is this my time to shine?
This is our time to shine, Sarah. And Macy to maybe be enticed to spend. I don't know if that Supergiant sale is still going on Steam.
I don't know if it is. It was on the Nintendo eShop too, because that's what I've been playing it on. Playing it on my Switch.
I spent all my money on trying to make 90s X-Men action figure diorama, so oops.
Whoops. That's fine. Well, you can eventually get around to playing Hades, a really good roguelike. Is it a roguelike? Yeah, it's a roguelike, right? Yeah. Game that. Oh man. Okay, so I don't play video games as much as I used to, and Christmas time came around, and I was like, I have some money left over. And I got a little extra money for Christmas, and I was like, all right, I'll buy like 2 games. And I bought Baldur's Gate 3, which I plan on going back to a little bit later, and Hades. And Hades is the game that I heard people talk about because it was released on the Epic Store in an alpha, like a pre-alpha of it came out like a long time ago, and it was like from the people who made Bastion, Transistor. What else did they make? Was those the 2 games, Bastion and Transistor? I think that's it.
I just know Bastion. Oh.
But this game, I didn't think I would get that into it. I thought I was like, I'll probably have fun, and then I'll stop playing it after I get angry at it enough. And then I just started playing it, and I don't have that many runs because I don't play it as much as I should because I'm usually either working at work or I'm working on D&D. But Sarah's probably done more runs than I have.
Yeah, I just got the achievement where I picked up a boon from Ares, and he's like, "Wow, you've killed 10,000 fiends." And then I died, and Hypnos was like, "Hey, wow, you've died 50 times." And I was like, "God damn it. All right, let's do this again."
Yeah, I'm on 41 runs right now, I think. As of last night. But oh my god, this game has captured my heart. It has re-inspired me to think video games can be good. So I'll have more thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts because we've only talked like a little bit back in text, like on our runs.
Yeah.
How have you been doing? Because we and you have both gotten to the final room of Hades. I've gotten him down to his last life bar and got him a little ways down, and then I died because I lost out of my defiances or my death defies. And you've gotten to the last health bar, and I didn't spoil that for you because I wanted you to be surprised.
I was surprised and disappointed.
Because you were like, I did it, and then you were like,
I was like, because of course, whenever I have multiple life bars, I'm like, yes, this is good, this is what I needed. But once an enemy has multiple life bars, I'm like, you son of a bitch, how dare you? So, you know, I I was disappointed, but it's whatever. I managed to get okay, so to explain, because I don't know, people might not have played it.
Yes, Hades is a roguelike game.
Hades is a roguelike game. I mean, I don't know if everybody knows what a roguelike is, but essentially, like, you go through multiple times. Like, it's okay if you die because you just start over from the beginning of, like, a dungeon, and it's randomly generated. What?
You're supposed to finish the game in one run, basically. The story, or, like, the entirety of the game is just, like, you're supposed to beat in one run. Like, if you die, then you have to go back to the beginning, like you said. And in Hades, unlike, like, Binding of Isaac, I don't know if you get to pick your weapon in the beginning of Binding of Isaac or other games.
You get to, so with Binding of Isaac, because Vinny suggested Hades to me because I'm obsessed with Binding of Isaac, and that's what I play when I, like, don't want to think. And in Binding of Isaac, you get to choose your character at the beginning of it.
So it's like a Super Meat Boy sort of thing?
They have different stats.
So yeah, it's like the Super Meat Boy sort of thing, where it's like, in Super Meat Boy, you can pick, like, the person you do the run with, and, like, they have different jump properties and stuff like that.
Yeah, essentially. But, like, with Hades, you play as Hades' son, and you are trying to get out of hell, essentially.
The underworld.
And get to the surface.
Because spoilers, we're not going to spoil. Oh,
I didn't. No, I was just gonna leave it at that. I mean, technically, it's not a spoiler because the mythology has been in the universe for like 1,000 years. But I mean,
yeah, that's true. And like Zagreus is like a real Greek person. Fucking Hades, Nyx, like everything in this is like pretty. I wouldn't say pretty accurate, but pretty close to like stuff in real life and descriptions of like Greek mythology in a way.
I mean, I would say it's pretty accurate, except for, you know, you just fucking run into Sisyphus, and he's like just chilling. He's like, oh yeah, me and Boldy here gotta go up the fucking hill, and you're like, yeah, shouldn't you be doing that for like eternity? Why did you stop? I thought this was your punishment.
Yeah, but I'm just here though. Sisyphus just there. Have you so sometimes when you walk in on Sisyphus, there might be someone there with him. I don't know if you've gotten the scene with Meg.
Where Meg is like, "What the fuck are you doing? You
Yeah.
fucking get back to work. You get that boulder up the hill." But I also, walk in when he's talking to Thanatos, and Thanatos is like, "You're not supposed to be helping him." And I was like, "Well, hold on a second. Aren't you helping me?"
Wait a second, Thanatos. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you're Zagreus, the son of Hades, and you're mad at Daddy, and so you want to leave the underworld, and you go through technically the 4 layers of the underworld: Tartarus, how do you pronounce
Asphodel.
it? Asphodel, Elysium, and then the Temple of Styx.
It's my favorite thing. So you have to get Cerberus out of the way in order to face Hades, and it's my favorite thing. It's like you just give him a treat and he like leaves, and then and then
Cerberus
at the top
defeated,
it says
not
Cerberus.
Really.
It says Cerberus vanquished, and then underneath it in parentheses it says he's okay. I'm like,
sometimes it says not really or something like that. Yeah. But I think this is like one of the most fun I've had with a game, because it like has this weird mixture of like there is like a narrative going on at the same time, and like since you are in the underworld, every time you die, you're just come back to the underworld, and everyone is aware that you die. And I like just like how Hypnos has something to say if you die to like a unique character, or like if you die to Hades, it's like, oh, you were killed by Redacted. What's Redacted?
If you keep getting killed by him, it's just so funny because Hypnos is like, I've asked everyone, and they don't know. And he's like so upset about it, and I love that.
And then there's also a weird thing where you can basically build up a pseudo social link or confidant with like each one of the fucking people in the underworld. Like you can go talk to, like you can talk to Achilles,
but also like the gods.
Yeah,
because you could just give them gifts. And
how many
it's like,
have you given to Dionysus?
I told you I'm saving all of my gifts for Thanatos.
To Thanatos.
Because that's my ship. I don't usually have ships.
That's everyone's ship, apparently.
This time.
Even though he's technically Zagreus' stepbrother.
So who cares? They're not blood related. Also, everybody in Greek mythology is fucking everybody else. Who cares?
Also, it does seem...
Persephone is Hades' niece. So who cares?
Also, Thanatos seems to be very tsundere for Zagreus.
Him and Meg have this like weird thing about Zagreus.
Well, Meg just seems like he fucking hates him. Like, even though like you were trying to
Meg is like, well, okay, so Meg seems like she's like, she used to like him, and now she's like, but you're fucking leaving, and I have to kill you, and you fucking suck, you bitch. And
then
Thanatos
she gets the sisters involved and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, she doesn't get her sisters involved. She didn't want her.
No, Hades
involved.
Gets her sisters involved.
Yeah.
Symphony and I can't remember the other one.
All stuff. Fucking Altor. Astro. Arlo. Fucking
Meg's sisters. Hades. Alecto.
I would have gotten it eventually.
The Furies, as they're called. Anyways,
I think Tisiphone is such an interesting character because all she says is murder.
Isn't she like supposedly? He is Her fight is fun. I like her fight.
No, I do like her fight, but she's also the easiest one to beat for me.
She is.
So I like her fight. I am so very disappointed that Apollo is not in this game because I've had this like weird obsession with him my whole life. But how hot Dionysus and Ares are kind of makes up for it for me.
I mean, there are a lot of hot people, both men and women, in this game, and they, thems, and
Chaos. I love chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah.
I remember when the Chaos Portal first showed up, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then like you meet this, the beginning of creation, Chaos, and you're like, "Oh, okay. I guess we're just meeting everyone." So I wanted to ask, except for Apollo and Hera and other
that's
gods.
true. Yeah, no, that's true. Hera and Apollo, I think, are the big ones that aren't there.
Maybe
everybody else is there.
It's just all encapsulated by Zeus. That's why.
Ugh.
Zeus, Athena. Who's the fucking other bitch? I can't remember for some reason.
Which is
there we go.
Apollo's twin sister.
Yeah, and then you have
Ares.
I
love that. Dionysus, Aphrodite.
And
Poseidon. Demeter.
Who's the goddess? The goddess of like the winter one.
Demeter. I already
Demeter.
said
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't get her until you get to Hades first.
Yeah. No, that's true. She's technically the goddess of the harvest. But,
the harvest.
I'm assuming the fact that she is winter and Persephone is not down here has something to do with the plot.
I'm assuming that's like when you get up. Again, we're just spoiling the shit out of this game. We're just going to talk about it.
It's mythology. Yeah. This has been a thing for 1,000 years. Because in mythology, Persephone, when Persephone was in the underworld for however many months, like 6 months out of the year or fucking whatever, it would be winter because her mom was sad. But then the fact that Persephone is not in the underworld and yet Demeter is the winter goddess, I'm like, this is suspicious. Something has to be going on here.
Yeah, there seems to be some weird shit. All I know is after you do beat the final boss of the game, after you beat Hades, you can continue doing runs, but there has to be a reason for that. And after you beat Hades, but after you do that and do the other runs, there is more to the story.
Yes, yeah. So I did see whenever I was in because I unlocked the fucking administrative room, which by the way sounds so fucking boring to do paperwork for the rest of your eternity, so I don't really blame Zagreus for getting the fuck out of there. But because you get to look at the stats of all your weapons and it says number of times escaped, and I was like, that's interesting, so that must mean that I have to come back, yeah,
something's gonna happen after you beat Hades. It's not just gonna play the credits.
So this is my prediction. I think Hades is going to end up being the good guy. I think he's doing this for a reason.
For Zagreus. But the thing is, Nyx, Achilles, and Thanatos are all trying to help you get out. So that's the thing
But because since he is the god of the underworld, I think he knows things that they don't. And I think that's why. I feel like he has to be doing this for a reason and not just because he's a dick.
Yeah, there is probably a reason, because I feel like it's just Hades has a reason, but he doesn't want to tell you.
Yes, exactly. He just wants to be mean. And I'm like, why?
So I need to ask this, because I asked you this a little bit, but what boons do you try to go for? What gods do you try to go for? Not just because you're thirsty or horny for them, but when you look at a door, do you you to go, I want to go to this god?
I tend to avoid Hermes just because I don't really have a use for his boons.
Hermes has some good ones.
I tried to go for anything that upgrades my dash. So Dionysus has his hangover boon. Ares has his blade rift. Poseidon has his damage one, and then Demeter has her chill blast. So I try to go for anything like that. Yeah. I don't really go for Athena's as much.
Athena's
know,
is
'cause I-
fun sometimes.
I try to focus on my attack so much, and Athena definitely focuses on defense. Because she has to do with like her shield.
Yeah, with
I
Athena's shield dash, like you can dash into like the witches' like orbs and like bounce it back at them, and it's like
Yeah.
the funniest shit ever. It's just me like dashing around, or like like in Elysium when they shoot out the big balls of energy, like you could just be like right in front of them and then dash and hit it back to them, and they just pop, and it's like the funniest fucking thing ever.
Hey, I was wondering, like, what is Artemis's boon?
Hers
It's usually critical hits.
yeah, usually like she increases your criticals, increases your strength on your specials and like your attacks. She has this call where
The call's like a demon trigger,
if you charge, if you charge it up, then you can release like a critical arrow that deals like a shit ton of damage. I personally, it's not like it's not a god boon, but I like finding the Daedalus hammer because
that's a good one too.
Yeah, because it like increases the number of times I can attack. It increases the number of like spears I have. I also like to go after Poseidon's because once I got that fishing boon, when I got the fishing rod. Oh yeah, well I came down and his boon was the starting one, and then I walked up to him. He's like, "Oh, you have my fishing rod. Here, have this boon." Where like every room had a fishing spot in it. I keep trying to get that boon, but I haven't seen it since. But he has the ones that are like increase the number of like gems you can get when you get into a gem room or whatever. So I do like those.
My favorite, the build that's gotten me the farthest, is usually anything like I did really well with anything that Ares gives me, because he has because I did the thing with the darkness where I upgraded it so I have multiple casts, and I get Ares' thing where it's like when you throw your cast it becomes a blade rift. So I found this thing that just fucks up the game, where if you have just 3 of those fucking things and it's like upgraded a whole bunch, it just shreds anyone. So it makes the Minotaur and Theseus fight like a fucking joke. Because like after the Minotaur is dead, you just walk up to where Theseus is, throw your cast and let it hover around him, and he just gets like shredded. And so I'm just running around for the rest of the fight.
I always go after Asterius first whenever I do the Theseus, which by the way, they gave him a name and yet they still call him the Minotaur on his health bar. Yeah. I'm like, just call him Asterius. His name is right there.
And then the call that I always try to get but never get is fucking Demeter's call, where she just creates like a fucking snow vortex and it just chills out and sits there. I haven't gotten that yet. Yeah, it's that or that one or Zeus's one I really like, or Poseidon's, but I like Zeus's and Demeter's call the most because it just like they're giant AoEs and they just like hit a target a whole bunch. Because I don't know. I try to get a lot of Zeus boons because his have to do with like lightning damage, and so like I like the ones where it's like when I attack, that deals lightning damage. When I cast, that deals lightning damage. When I do my special, that deals lightning damage. When I dash, it does lightning damage. Like I like that. Oh, I got this. So
him like a combination of Zeus and Ares has definitely gotten me the farthest, I'd probably say. I do love Aphrodite though.
Aphrodite's fun. She has the weakness where she gives people weakness. The only thing that I've had that was like super successful with her is she has this thing where if you have a Zeus boon and an Aphrodite boon and you code it like either one of them, they have this duo boon that it autofills your call, but only call can only go to 25%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I had Zeus's call, and it was just like going through rooms, just waiting till it's charged up, and then nuking everything in the room, just running around shooting lightning bolts. What is your favorite weapon? Because I have like 3 that I always use, and then like the other ones I don't use.
The fists and the shield are the one that I go to so often. The bow fucking sucks. I hate the bow. I hate having to use the bow, but I know I'm gonna have to use the bow in order to get the ambrosia from Theseus, and I just want to punch things.
Yeah, I like the shield, spear, and the fists. I have the magnet thing on the fists, so those runs are fun. Where I just run around hitting my special and it just pulls people to me.
Yeah.
And also when I have that one, I always get the hammer that upgrades it to when you kill someone with your special, you gain 3 health back. So I'm just running around and I don't know. This is like a game where like I feel like I was playing it the other night. I'm like, I'm probably gonna try and 100% this game. Like after I beat it, I'm just gonna go back and try to unlock everything and do everything with every weapon. And like unlock everything for every weapon until like I'm done. Because like it's just one of those games. Like it stopped me from playing Genshin Impact. Like I have not touched. The only reason I touched Genshin Impact for like the past week is just to open it, get the reward thing that I paid for, so I don't feel like I wasted money.
Yeah, that's fair.
Question. What's your favorite joke? I heard that the game is very funny, and I was wondering what was the thing that got you laughing out loud the most?
Oh, the game is very funny.
I have one.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm trying to think.
There was a part.
Oh wait, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got one. But yeah, go ahead.
There was a part where after you die and you're coming back up and there's Hypnos. Hypnos is always there because he's keeping track of the people who are dying. And Megara, or Meg, was standing in front of him, and you can listen into people's conversations when they're standing next to each other. And Megara is like, "Thanks, I don't need you to show me where the lounge is." And then like Hypnos is like, "Oh, okay, well, I thought we could just go there." It's like, and Meg is like, "Are you asking me out on a date?" And he's like, "What? No, I would never do that." I'm like, oh.
Except for it's clear that Hypnos has this weird thing for Meg like, from the beginning. So you're like, okay, that's clearly what you were doing, but whatever.
And then like Medusa and fucking Meg just talking sometimes.
Oh my god, yeah, they're just like best friends.
Having like girl talk in the lounge. I don't know if you have a moment.
Yeah, Poseidon, sometimes when you'll like get boons, the gods will talk to you, but you can't talk back essentially because they're like sending you messages from Olympus or whatever. But Poseidon keeps calling Hades his crusty elder brother, and it makes me die every time because Hades really is crusty in this game. Like, oh my god, it's so funny.
I just like how fast what's his name? Fuck, I don't know. What's his name? Is it Hermes? Yeah, Hermes. How fast Hermes talks through every sentence. Like, he'll have like a paragraph of dialogue, but he'll get through it in half the time any other character would get that thing of dialogue. Like,
that's true. There was one time when Hermes was like, "I have a message for you, cuz. Olive oil, clove of garlic, a pinch of salt. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, this isn't for you. Okay, bye." And then he leaves, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
I don't know. Do you have any the questions about this game, Macy?
I've seen a lot of interest. I'm intrigued by it. like it's on my list of immediate plays. Because like I love the art style, I love the humor that I've seen of it, and I have a thing for dominant women. So Megara is
That's your girl.
that's my girl. Would she beat me? Yes. Would I like every minute of it? Fuck yes. So yeah, no, that's where my allegiances lie. Also, the game looks fun.
You also got me over here simping for death. Literal death.
Is she a goth girl?
No, with Thanatos, it's a dude.
Oh.
Just look up a picture of Thanatos, Macy, and tell me.
It really is Vinny's type.
Thanatos.
Hades.
No, not Thanos. Thanatos. Thanatos. Hades. Oh.
Vinny has this thing for like emo boys in all black that are kind of tsundere and have white hair. He consistently puts them in our D&D games.
Can I talk about why I like this design and everything you described of this character earlier is really funny?
Yeah.
His scythe is a heart.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It is a heart. It's literally like this guy. This is like not even subtext. It's text to this guy simping for you.
Also his voice. Ah.
Yeah, he's also the only one that doesn't have a British accent. Oh, well, okay,
Yeah.
Meg doesn't have a British accent.
Neither does
I
Dusa.
just think it's interesting. Everybody else has a British accent.
Also,
I
like
know.
a lot of people are like really simping for the head girl.
Nyx.
No, the one that's just like a head.
Dusa?
Oh, Dusa?
Yeah, is it Medusa? Is it
It's-
Medusa?
They just call her Dusa.
Okay. I just want to say though, like, what that head do? That's all I'm gonna say.
It's so interesting because the first time you get to Asphodel, you fight other Gorgons.
Oh, I
And
know
then
what
you
you're gonna say.
You come back and you're like, hey Dusa, so there are Gorgons out there, but they're not like you. I kind of killed them. Is that okay? And she's like, oh yeah, no, I mean, like, we're like related, but it's only like if, you know, because my head got cut off and all of my blood spilled out and they became Gorgons, so you know. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Does she have like a Valley Girl accent?
Yes.
She kind of talks like this the whole time.
They
And she's
like everyone in the
like-
game, I think, except for Zagreus, has like a voice effect on them to make them sound more like
That's
ghostly.
why sometimes I'm like, was this all voiced by the same person? Because
Look
they
up the
all
voice cast. Like it is all the same actress and actor, and they're all
because they all
people.
have voice effects on them, and so I'm like, oh, this must all be the same person.
Because
Question.
I think Zagreus and Thanatos actually share a voice actor.
I need to know, on a scale of hot to how hot is Artemis?
She's cute.
She's cute.
Damn.
Yeah.
She's a little
Hold on.
tomboy.
She's like, yeah, she's a tomboy. Aphrodite's super hot.
Okay, let me look at Hades Artemis, because Artemis has always been like my jam because
Yeah.
you know, hey.
And
so-
Apollo has always been my jam, and I'm very upset he's not in this game, but I very much enjoyed the game otherwise. Yeah, she's a little tomboy.
Well, actually,
I like
Thanatos.
I
Sorry.
like tomboys, but it's just there's something about that design that's like, oh, it doesn't tickle the Macy fancy.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
Thanatos is one of the few guys on the voice cast that doesn't share a voice actor. So that's why he doesn't sound British.
Dionysus and Ares are my favorites.
Oh God, Aphrodite's basically naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
oh my
is.
God.
I love her.
respect
I would love to cosplay her, but then I just have to be naked. Maybe OnlyFans. Who knows?
Also, have you noticed Asterius's pompadour?
Yes! Ah, I love him! I love him!
Oh,
Theseus does not deserve to be partnered up with such a good boy. He is so kind and respectful, and Theseus is a little shit.
Also,
Sorry.
forgot. Oh, when Zagreus mentions Heracles and Theseus kind of gets. No, was it Hades
Oh
who
my
gets?
god!
Is it?
No. Okay, so Zagreus
Don't
mentions Heracles to both Theseus
Hades
and Hades.
and Hades, yeah.
He mentions Heracles to Theseus, and Theseus is like, "How fucking dare you!"
Like he's up there with fucking Zeus. Like fuck you.
uh, and then you mentioned Heracles to Hades, and Hades is like, "Don't you fucking mention him in this house, boy! I promise you, if he did not have connections to my brother, I put him in Tartarus and not even in Elysium because he's a piece of shit, and I don't know why he's considered a hero."
bless. Cause it's so funny how like he's like an asshole in Greek mythology. Like Hercules is one of the
So much.
biggest.
He did so many terrible things.
He's like to be honest, it makes sense that he's like Zeus's son to be like thinking about like it makes sense. Like Zeus my hatred for Hercules runs deep. Hercules is the epitome of someone calling someone a dill hole.
Now this
You know what
is
I mean?
this is the mythology of Hercules and not the 1990s Disney movie Hercules, because that is a treasure.
Or the
Mhm.
live
That's a different canon.
Yeah.
With Kevin Sorbo.
Which
Yeah.
is really great and not
Different.
disappointing.
To forget him.
Yeah.
But
let's be honest. I like this game. It looks like it's a good fun game. I
Look
wanna
up Dionysus.
Oh, I already did. I was waiting to interject. I was like, I didn't want to interrupt y'all's in conversation about like Hercules, but then I got mad. But now since I'm having the floor for a second, I get it, Sarah. I get it. I heard you earlier talking about him, and I'm like, no, really, Dionysus, really?
Mm,
And
yeah.
I saw it, and I'm like, okay, honey.
God, I want to party with him. But also Ares, just because I have a thing for like really imposing, scary men. So you would think I would have a thing for Hades, but he has like that whole beard thing going, and you can't really see any of his face. And also, his voice is ridiculous because he has the same voice actor as everybody else.
What if like you're having sex with that version of Hades, and his voice just echoes, and it's just kind of weird?
To give you an
So
idea,
it's-
the guy who voices Hades voices he voices Achilles, Poseidon,
Oh,
uh
yeah.
Charon,
yeah.
Ar-
Charon and
Asterius.
his two lines.
Asterius. So
he-
those are the people he voices.
He does a really good job voicing Asterius. I
Also
do enjoy
Achilles.
that a lot. Yeah.
Achilles is dad. That's how I feel about Achilles.
Achilles is older brother.
Older brother or dad, in my opinion.
That's a really talent, you know. Like the guy has a lot of talent if he can voice all those. Especially
Well,
the
the
other
dude
lady.
who voiced these guys, I think he just works for Supergiant because he only is in Supergiant games.
That makes sense. I was gonna say, Karen has like, okay, saying that this dude voiced Karen is the same as saying that Alan Tudyk voiced Heye in Moana, because Karen just goes. And, like, that's it, yeah. And that's it. I think it's so funny just walking up to Nyx and being like, "Your children today," and she's like, "They came from me, but they're their own people," and I'm like, it's so weird thinking that you're just this super hot MILF and you gave birth to this weird zombie that sells me things sometimes.
Yeah. It looks like the dude who plays Hades and all those other characters. He's the thing he's known for before this, and the stuff he did in Transistor and the other Supergiant games. He did the narrator in Bastion. If you played Bastion, he was that guy.
I didn't play Bastion. I just know of it.
Did anyone play Bastion? Okay. But I think he just like works at Supergiant, but also he's a good voice actor, or he's like the on-call voice actor for Supergiant games. I don't know what else he's done aside from that. 'Cause I'm trying to find more on him. Like maybe he was like also a developer, but like it's just like, oh no, he just voices things.
I definitely feel like it would have been really funny if it was all the same person. Like,
Just modulated different.
just modulated different. Because that's what I thought it was, hearing like the different like I guess modulations in their voices. Like Hypnos and Dusa have the most interesting modulations. Oh, and Orpheus. Orpheus sounds like a fucking chipmunk.
Yeah, Orpheus.
And then you hear him sing, and you're like, what the fuck? That's beautiful. Where did that come from?
And then there's Eurydice, who also...
Eurydice.
Eurydice or Eurydice?
It's Eurydice.
Eurydice. She also doesn't have that much modulation on her voice, so she's...
No, she doesn't at all.
It's just mostly like a lot of the gods and a lot of the weirder people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they did it, I feel like, specifically for Hypnos, because he's a very, like... He looks like how he sounds. Like, it makes sense to me that he sounds like that. And it makes sense to me that Dusa sounds the way she does.
Yeah, a lot of these people in this game, the voices are like, I've only worked on this game and another Supergiant game. I don't think they hire like real voice actors, which isn't a bad thing. It's just
no, it's just an interesting choice to me.
I found one person who was like a real voice, like actual, has more than
Which
just Supergiant credit. She plays Tisiphone and Meg.
The one that says one
No,
word?
not Meg.
Okay, so she'll
Not Meg. Tisiphone
okay.
and Electo, and she also voices Athena.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. I was like, oh, she only voices Tisiphone? Again, it's the Alan Tudyk thing.
The voice of Dusa is also the voice of Aphrodite.
Oh, I could see that.
I like the like, even if these like aren't like normal like voice actors, I've seen clips of it and I love how chill some of the dialogue is, you know? And it's chill but still able enough to give some biting, funny, like comedic banter. Like I love that about it. And I'm not sure if it's because like maybe the voice actors are not good at emoting or if they're just kind of normal people just doing their best, but whatever they're doing, it works for me because I love the dialogue of the main character. He's just so like calm about things. You know what I mean? And it's kind of
I feel like I think all Supergiant games have this. I could be wrong, but they have like a lot of just heavily written, a lot of voice acted stuff in them. And it kind of makes me maybe want to go play Bastion and maybe Transistor at some point. But like they have just like, a lot of story. Like they just have a lot of story and like a lot like the entirety of like Bastion is like narrated. And it's like Supergiant's like this weird indie company where like they just make these weird, not weird, but like games that just end up appealing to everyone. Because I remember when Bastion came out, I was like, what the heck is this? And then like everyone was like, oh yeah, gotta go play Bastion. It's like this weird thing where you like you go into a dungeon, you're building a town, and like that has this really cool narrator and this really good soundtrack. And Hades has a really good soundtrack too. And then there's Transistor, which is like another like different game where it's like this turn-based weird thing where like you're building circuits and doing things with different weapons and your blade talks to you, and it's like also has this really weird story that reveals itself at the end. And I don't know, like they've done other games than just those, but those are the ones that everyone talks about is Transistor and Bastion.
Do you think it should have won Game of the Year?
Hades?
As opposed to The Last of Us 2? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say Hades should have won more awards and just awards in general because it's just overall just like an amazing game.
Well,
from an
it did.
indie
It
company.
did win a lot of awards. It did win a lot of awards. In fact, it won more awards than The
Mhm.
Last of Us 2 did.
I thought Last of Us 2 sweeped, but to be
It
honest, I
did.
don't really pay close attention to like award shows. I kind of like ignore them, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it did. But Hades is just like my whole thing. Like, we can talk about things we haven't been able to talk about, but like the whole Game Awards thing, like I don't follow that as law, like as like any merit other than Jeff Keighley had created an award show and is trying to hold it up like the Oscars, and like good for him. He made it work outside of Spike TV, and he made it his own little thing, and I'm happy that he was able to do that. But when I see someone win Game of the Year at the Game Awards, I go, okay, that's what this like group of like adults
Bunch
thought
of
was the
people,
best.
yeah.
Where I'm like,
Yeah, it's award shows are always going to be inherently biased with the people and judges. You can't just not like, unless it's just like all filled out by people, and then even then it's just group consensus at that point. You're just voting, and I don't know. Like I was just kind of speculating because I still have that Last of Us 2 hate inside of me. That spite will never go away.
so from
I wouldn't say I hate it. I never got into the first game, so I don't see the big hype about the second game, so.
yeah,
I love the first game, and so that's why I was really disappointed.
I don't. So here's my thing about story games.
Mhm.
I like story games if you can make it work well with the actual gameplay and make the gameplay more than just like a third person shooter with a story in it, or more
Yeah.
than just. That's the reason why I like the Metal Gear Solid series, because it's like each game has interesting gameplay from Metal Gear Solid 1 to like yes 5, which I did buy and haven't installed yet. um I forgot I bought that. Holy shit.
What did you forget you buy?
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
Oh my god, you reminded me you did, and then you just totally blanked on it for like how?
Because
how
I
many
bought it
weeks?
along with Baldur's Gate 3 and Hades.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm not even gonna blame you at that. That's one's a really funny, campy, not finished game that's really fun to play, and then one of them is just an actually great game. So I'm not gonna fault you on that.
But back to my statement is the Metal Gear Solid series reinvents itself each game by adding and taking away different elements and making new elements in each game. Because if you look at each Metal Gear Solid game, they all have robust stories, and even if they're super Japanese and crazy and over the top sometimes, they're still really interesting stories about about Metal Gear Solid 2 being the best one about it, where it's like it just talks about the world and how you like that's the game that brings up memes first and no one fucking remembers, or like people did remember like way later, because everyone was talking about Revengeance and they were like, this one has the memes in it, and then the memes, and it's like, no, Metal Gear Solid 2 talked about the idea of like memes and stuff like that and what they actually are, and like how we create these things, and like this whole giant subtext to this thing about like Metal Gears and things that launch nukes. But each one of those games reinvents themselves in like the way that they play, and they're fun to play. I would watch a show that's The Last of Us. That's a thing.
Like the thing about me is like the thing that I think Metal Gear versus Last of Us, and I think this is like we way off topic than talking about an indie game that was really great.
Well,
But-
I was gonna get back to that.
Yeah, I just want to say like I feel like the gameplay loop and the story in Metal Gear is much more satisfying, and even the gameplay ties in, like not just like Metal Gear Solid 2, but like in 3, it like there's a scene like if you killed anybody, the whole like you're facing the undead guy, and so it really just kind of enforces like this positive, fun gameplay loop, and it ties the gameplay to the story, and it's just that's so good. I think the problem with like Last of Us 2 for me is that it has a story that thinks it's better than like what it actually is, and then the gameplay loop is not as it's engaging, but it can't get me through that story. That's the problem with like story games for me, is that you have to have a really good solid story to justify a gameplay loop. And the thing about Last of Us is that the gameplay loop is very similar to 1. It didn't innovate that much, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway.
And now there's probably going to be people be arguing, well, in Last of Us 2, The Last of Us and Last of Us 2, you can like sneak around, you can do stuff like that, you can play the game like that and stuff like that. But like the game doesn't like enforce you to do it. It doesn't reward you to do it other than you took out the enemies quietly. Like in Metal Gear Solid and in the Metal Gear Solid series, like you're basically in Metal Gear Solid 1, it's like you're told this is a sneaking mission. Metal Gear Solid 2, you're told it's a sneaking mission and you have to like acquire shit on site. And Metal Gear Solid 3, it's like this is a covert ops. I mean, Metal Gear Solid 4 is the weird one where it's like you can do this any way you want, but the world will change around how you do it. Which I always liked about Metal Gear Solid 4. As much as people don't like that game, I really like that game because it just has all these weird things where it's like, I remember hearing interviews with Hideo Kojima going like, yeah, you can play this game any way you want. You can play this as a stealth game, you can play this as an action game, you can do whatever you want. And a lot of people who were coming into Metal Gear Solid playing the other games were like, oh, I'm going to do it like a stealth game, but then realized like halfway through you can blend in as a militia member in the first in 2 parts of the game. In like the first 2 acts, you can like blend in as like one of the like militia members and help them take back the area, and then there's the other part where you can help the militia like go up and go, hey, I'm gonna help you guys, and like they'll help you like storm the building instead of sneaking around. But to circle back to Hades, the reason I think this should win is because it tells a story, but it also just feels good to play. Like, I know there's, like, tons of crazy systems in, like, The Last of Us, like, where you can edit your weapons and make them all crazy, and you can collect parts and do stuff like this, and there are the punch lasers and stuff like that, where, like, when you punch people or you fight people, like, it'll react to your surroundings, so, like, if you're close enough to a wall, like, it'll, like, put Joel or, like, Ellie into an animation of, like, punching them up against the wall or pushing them up against the wall, and I'm like, I think that's neat, but, like, at the end of the day, it's still just like a third-person shooter, cover shooter.
It's a visual spectacle. It's not like and a lot of the upgrades, like it kind of has that same problem as a lot of shooters. Like once you get the upgrades, you barely feel them. Like they become like once you get them, like, oh, okay, I have it now. Oh, killing is easier. I think what I like about Hades and what I've seen of it is that the gameplay loop is always evolving. You're always adding something new, and it's like you can play that game over and over again and get different builds, different things, and it feels like every challenge you're doing, you're improving. And I feel like that is equally more satisfying than I feel as the gameplay loop for a third-person shooter, because you're getting that feedback consistently, you're getting new weapons consistently, you're finding new strategies consistently, and you're challenging yourself. It's a much more difficult game. You're pushing yourself to an extent to get through it, and I feel like that to me is a more rewarding experience than I killed guy good.
Yeah, like I'm all for like interesting stories in video games, but I like the balance of like good gameplay. Like I like the balance of like the game, not just like the game feels good. Like like a lot of people will argue, be like, well, it doesn't it feel good to play? Isn't it polished? Isn't it great? And it's like, yeah, but it's not that interesting to me because there's a million other. Like, I feel like I'm just going through and killing guys so I can get to, like, the next cutscene. So I can talk to someone.
The thing is about The Last of Us, the reason why I think that I didn't really get into it in the first place is that I need games that have a mix of seriousness and not seriousness at the same time. Yakuza is my favorite series because it can make the seriousness become not serious so quickly, and that's why I enjoy it. Is like I just cannot play a game that takes itself too seriously. That's why I like Hades, because there are jokes. That's why I like Saints Row, because it's like not taking itself seriously at all. Like those are the kinds of games that I get really into. The same with Persona too. And the Tales of games. Like I cannot play a game that takes itself too seriously.
Yeah, Yakuza, one moment you're like fucking having a tragic moment with the Yakuza boss, and then the next moment
You're
you're
like
doing
watching
karaoke.
you're watching your loved one die in your arms, and the next moment you're fighting a giant man in a diaper.
Or you're singing karaoke or something.
Or you're tossing like your niece's daughter at like a football between multiple Yakuza members.
Yes, exactly. I
Like-
love the Yakuza games, like because of that. And I feel like I could get into the Metal Gear games because I feel like they have just a little bit of that in it, because I only know pieces of Metal Gear trivia, and I know that in one of the games, I think it's 3 maybe, when you're trying to fight this one guy, if you just wait a week or set the internal clock a week ahead, he just dies of old age.
There's another way you can kill him early in the game.
Oh yeah,
where there's a cutscene, and then if you have the sniper rifle, which you can get early, you can shoot him, and then he explodes because all of the fucking members of their team have bombs inside them when they die. When they explode. And it's funny because he explodes, and then the wheel from his wheelchair flies up and hits you.
Okay, see, that's why I feel like I can play Metal Gear, because I feel like it doesn't take itself too seriously. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, there's a lot of lightheartedness in Kojima games, even though there's like super serious moments that'll make you sad.
I think for me,
can't
like
feel my legs, or whatever that fucking quote is.
I think for me, like I'm okay with like a serious story if it is told well.
Yeah.
And I feel like because when you're telling a serious story, you got to go all in, right? You got to know what you're doing. You got to have those beats. You got to have that thing. And I feel like the core of that serious story was great. It was like a father-daughter relationship,
Yeah,
and
like I'm not saying that the story's bad.
No,
that's
no,
the
no.
thing.
I'm just saying, like for like in my opinion, like the first one was written very well and knew what to do very well, and it like I agree with you, Sarah. Like a majority of the time, I would want to gravitate to something that's more fun and able to kind of go back and forth between like a lightheartedness. But sometimes for me, like I do kind of want something that makes me sad, and I feel like when I played Last of Us 1, huh?
You're like me, Maisie.
See, I'm the opposite. I avoid sad movies. I am sad enough in my real life. I do not want to watch things that make me sad.
I also kind of respected it because it felt like a film, like a I won't say like tire, but it felt like this is a story that didn't end in like a happy ending. It ended in a way that I felt was very compelling, and it felt like a how do I describe it? Like a I'm trying to think of an auteur who does this, but like when you watch a movie, it doesn't end with the game. It ends with you thinking about your actions and thinking about the characters. It makes you engage and think about what you did. And I feel like when I played Last of Us 2, it didn't reach those same heights, and that's probably because the same story team was not there, and it was one guy with a vision that was flawed, and I feel like the story didn't hit me, and I think that's why I'm so disappointed with it, is because like Last of Us is about the human condition in a time where it feels like you can't be human, and I like that. I like that kind of idea.
I feel like from what I've heard, and I spoiled myself in the game because I'm like, I'm never gonna bother playing this game because I'm surprised they made a sequel when I thought about it.
Yeah, because it perfectly ends. Like ends
on like this like ending or of like it's just left up to your imagination, and I kind of like those endings where it's like,
Me too.
where it's just like, well, anything could happen. Like I don't like definitive endings for some things. To give you an idea, I think the best person I can say this to is not, because I don't know if David Fincher writes a lot of the movies he directs, but anything that he directs, the writers that he picks and the stories that he picks never really have like a definitive end. Like there's always like something there, like of just like mystery or like to think about. I was trying to think of a director, and I was like, oh, but I feel like David Fincher's movies that he directs, not writes, but the writers he picks for a lot of his movies, or the writers that he has for a lot of the movies that he does. I don't know the process, but a lot of those movies that he has done have like
No,
ending.
I watched the only David Finch movie. Well, okay, so I watched Twin Peaks, which I love Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
But I watched fucking Mulholland Drive. That's the only movie by him I think I've ever watched, and there definitely was not an end. I was definitely like, what the fuck just happened?
I think you might be confusing people.
Am I?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of David Lynch.
David
Oh, I am
Lynch.
thinking
Lynch.
Lynch.
Yeah, yeah.
There-
David Fincher
Literally-
is Zodiac.
Yeah, he likes
Oh.
psychological thrillers.
Zodiac.
Um,
Mank
I
is one of the movies that he did.
To be fair, Mulholland Drive did not have an end. So like I
You're
was right.
right. You're not wrong.
I was right.
David Lynch
No,
is
no.
crazy.
No, I think you're right on that, because David Lynch is also one of those directors who, like, his whole film is up to interpretation. He's all about the surrealist, and so I respect that as a filmmaker to leave everything open to interpretation. And I feel like I agree with you, Vincent. Like, that ending is so impactful if we never hear anything about it again. You know what I mean? Like it's so good in its execution, the facial expressions, the story, the character motivations towards the end, what he does, and it kind of just completes that story. And I think that's why I was really frustrated with Last of Us 2. It was like, in my mind, I thought, make it an anthology series. This is the perfect universe to
Like pick a
explore
different character.
Yeah, like
Like
if you
make
wanted
new
to do
people.
if you wanted to do Abby, make her the main character and forget anyone else,
Yes.
right? Like,
You know what would have been a better overall thing? Let me rewrite The Last of Us 2.
here we go. Let's go.
Alright, so you start out as Abby, and the whole game, it's like not advertised that Joel will be in it. Like, they couldn't do this. They would never be able to pull this off. And anyone who hasn't played The Last of Us 2 or cares about The Last of Us 2 spoilers and listening to this podcast for whatever reason, you just get out now. So instead of having the stuff with Ellie, you start with Abby, this new character, and you start with her going around and her endeavors that leads her up to the point where she kills Joel. Because I don't know if the game starts out like that. I don't know if it like, because I know the game starts out as your Ellie, right?
It starts out like that. Like, from what I like.
Well, okay, not kills Joel, but you start out as Abby and you don't know anything prior.
Oh, you know what'd been even better? Like, towards
And
the end
then
of,
Ellie
like,
just shows up and you're just like, what?
yeah. Like, what if like
I feel like I would have played that.
Yeah,
But then like the cut, like it stops when Ellie shows up, and then you cut back to what brought Ellie there. Like I feel like if the story was told differently than how I think people told it, how it was actually told, where it switches between them. If like you did like a whole half of the game as a character you never knew and got to know her, and then you find out what actually happened, and then like it does like this thing where it's like, because I think I haven't played the game, I just know what happens in the story, that it cuts between them. Is that what happens?
what happens is she literally kills Joel, and then we get her backstory. So already you're
You already hate
alienating.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the problem with the story for some reasons. Like, instead of building her up as a character we can like, you already alienate the players being like, fuck you, you killed dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
So,
it would have been
like-
better if like I said, you start out as Abby and it's just like her doing all her shit, and then
Yeah.
Ellie shows up like in the middle of the game, and then it like cuts to like 5 months ago, and then
Or
you get
even like
Hmm?
you make them like you make it all Abby's story, and then Ellie comes in and they both work together and you build a friendship, and then Joel comes in and then it kicks off and then she kills Joel, to be continued, third game. Right?
Why does she kill Joel?
Well, because the doctor that was working for the Fireflies in the first game. So to simplify, the first game is all about taking Ellie to a hideout across the United States to
Okay, so I do
Okay.
know what happens at the end of the first game,
Okay.
which, by the way, I feel like Joel is a dick for doing what he did.
Yeah,
that's the whole
like,
major
that's
thing
the
about
whole
that
point.
game.
Yeah, that's the whole point, is like, but also like when you read a lot of the extra content in that last half, which a lot of people don't read, it says that there has never been a successful attempt at what they're doing surgically. So like if you read that material, you're basically setting up Ellie to die. Like there's
but at the same time, I feel like
that's the
they need
thing
to
is
do whatever
it's
they
great-
That's the point. It's to make you
That's the-
think, was Joel
yeah,
right?
It's a gray area. Is it right or is it wrong?
I don't think Joel was right, but that's me.
Yeah, but
It's,
it's
like
also
start
kind of
arguments like this.
See, that's why Last of Us 1 is so good, is that we are arguing about the game and what it has presented to us, and it doesn't give us answers.
Yeah.
It gives us great clarity and questions, and it's all about our morality to fill in the answers. Last of Us 2,
Starts out
doesn't-
with the bad.
it just doesn't know how to, like, create those stories, and it makes sense because the writers of Last of Us 1 are gone from Naughty Dog. It's kind of like a BioWare situation. All the good people left. So now what's left is someone who thinks they know what they're doing, trying to make a game who he thinks is great, but isn't. You know?
Yeah, I like
Mhm.
like the way it's because I remember like just starting out, and it's like the way fuck. The reason The Last of Us 1 works is because it builds up to the shocking moment at the end. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of crazy stuff along the way where like people die and stuff like that. And there's the whole opening sequence with his daughter and stuff like that. And there's like the part where you think Joel's gonna die and you play as Ellie. And there's like all this stuff, but like it builds up to that shocking moment where he brings her to the Fireflies, and then he's like, nope, gonna fucking kill all these doctors, and I'm leaving.
I think you don't even have to kill some of them, I think. Like, there's only one that pulls out a gun, I think. I could be wrong, I can remember.
But I
But
mean,
you-
he definitely killed all of them. I
No,
definitely remember that.
I thought, like, you could choose to kill all of them. Like, you could just go in there and pick up Ellie, I think.
No, I definitely remember
Hold on.
him just murdering everybody.
Just
I'm
replay
all-
that one part for us, Macy. Get back to us next time.
Yeah, I'll do it. It's like, but I'm gonna kill the doctors anyway, so Sarah's gonna be right.
Anyways, I feel like that's why that works, but I think... Do you think they were being clever by, like, instead of ending with the big moment, we're gonna
I think the only
start with the
sorry.
big moment?
hold on. I think the only reason is because I started watching gameplay of The Last of Us 2. The only reason I know what the ending is because I think they showed it at the beginning of Last of Us 2. Don't
What's-
quote me on this, but I feel like I remember that. And that's why I'm like, no, I feel like I remember this.
Do you know how the game ends?
Oh, yes, I do. So
Well, do you know
I
the
looked
game
it up.
ends, Sarah?
The
Oh.
first one?
The second one.
I fucking spoiler
said-
alert. I know Joel dies. Abby kills Joel, and then
That's the
Ellie goes
beginning.
on a fucking manhunt to search for Abby, and then Ellie kills Abby.
Nope.
Nope.
She stops and this doesn't kill her because she finds out that Abby has kids.
Oh,
And it's really bad. And we cut to a flashback in the middle of the fight saying Joel's like, "Hey, don't do bad things." And then
Don't do drugs, kid. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Don't do bad things.
in the middle of choking her out and about to kill someone, they
And
flash
Joel
back
was
to
on a
Joel,
skateboard for some reason. He was
Yeah,
giving the
but-
peace sign to heaven. He was like,
and then he's like, "Goodbye, I'm gonna go back to my home
He
planet now." and
he had a
flies out.
chili dog for some reason. Nobody knows.
he was wearing
He's
his
like, "Gotta go
baseball
fast,
cap
kids," and he
hat
runs off
backwards.
He turned into a ball of blue light. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Turned into
I
the
mean,
orb.
he,
He said,
his
"Praise be to
spirit,
Zool." And
his spirit left his body, and he was like, "Zool!"
Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's all I know about the games.
That's a good job.
oh my god. Okay, so Last of Us, we got here from Hades. The reason Hades works is because it balances its story with its gameplay, and the gameplay feels fun to play, and it makes me want to play it differently. Same thing with Metal Gear. Last of Us 1 is a good story, but I don't like third-person shooters as much as I used to when I was 13.
Buy
Holy
it now
fuck.
at a low price of $35 on
Oh,
whatever platform
Also,
you like.
other games that I have never really gotten into that I feel like take themselves too seriously are like the Call of Duty games. Like I'm like, it's too serious. I don't want to fuck with this. Like all I have to do is shoot people. That seems boring.
Hey,
You get into those for the multiplayer.
I like it when
And I don't like multiplayer, so
I get my gun and I load my gun and I aim my gun
yeah.
and then I shoot
What
my
next?
gun
You shoot it.
and then the guy dies and I'm like, well, that's really cool. Let me do that
Oh,
for
oh,
about
oh.
100 more times.
You can kill people with guns?
I know it's a shocking revelation.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, does anyone else have anything else they want to talk about? This podcast we just went off the
while you
fucking
guys-
rails.
While you guys were talking about Wonder Woman 84, I finally got into my mom's HBO Max account, and I was just scrolling through to see like what I could watch.
Mhm.
And there are a few that I'm like, oh, I didn't know these were on here. I'm excited to watch this. And then I saw that Cats was on here, and I got really excited because I made everybody watch Cats for my birthday. I made everybody get drunk and watch Cats for my birthday. And I felt like it went by in the span of 20 minutes. But everybody else says that it was like an hour and a half longer than it needed to be. And I think that movie's so fucking funny, dude. Because it is so insane. I
That
don't know
movie-
why anybody thought to put this onto film.
Hey Sarah,
Uh-huh.
you know what my favorite scene is in Cats?
Is it the one where she eats cockroaches?
That's my second favorite. My favorite is when the big fat cat eats lasagna and she says she hates Mondays. That's my favorite.
Okay, so that's all the time we have this week. Goodbye, everyone.